Hey everybody. So I want to finally do my post-build or after-action report, as I have so named them, video on the Rye Field DAK TIger. I cranked through building the first, I don't know, 2/3, 3/4 of it like right away. I wanted to get it out right away, and then I got stuck in that point where you sort of lose yourself in the minutia of things, like the little bits, so you get through the big stuff and then the little parts just kind of kill you. And then I got busy and I didn't. So I finally have it where all that is left is the shrouds are still off, because I like to paint exhausts first, and the outer sets of wheels are still off. Now I recently figured out that there's one part they missed in the instructions, which is they don't mention this little handle here. There's two of these, and they go on the engine deck of all Tigers. It's how you pull the engine cover off. So I can't, to open up holes, which you have to inside of it, once you've assembled a tank, I need to have like a little LED light, and I put it down inside the hull, and I turn the light on, and then it'll illuminate the sort of pre-bored out holes, but I don't have one of those. My kid does, and he's at school, so I'll wait till he gets home to fix that. That's the only way I know. I actually had to do that with a lot of the holes in the hull. So let's talk about major things. The turret, maybe we'll go first. Let me pull this off of here. Okay. So the turret is 90% Rye Field and some Dragon smoke launchers. I don't have them here. I just saw them the other day because I ripped them off, but the brackets that hold them on, which are that C-shaped thing on the Rye Field one, are too short this way, and the launchers themselves are far too thick on the Rye Field ones, and it's basically the only thing that I couldn't abide that they had on their kit for the turret. I'm looking forward to doing another one of theirs, because this cupola is very, very detailed, but I could not get it to open correctly. So the stuff on there looks great when it's closed, but let me show you. Tiger hatch is open at that angle, right? This is the Tamiya deck, like that, because they sit on this bracket here. And I could not get this one to sit this way, so I closed it out of necessity more than intention. I was like, well, it looks terrible now. Open, because it was sitting straight up, and that just isn't how they open. So loader's hatch seems fine. As Dave Burden has pointed out, these DAK bins should be wider. They should come up over to the pistol ports here. That's not, you know, the end of the world, but it is slightly inaccurate. The Dragon kit coming out in November seems to be like it's going to fix that. And then I use the PE option for the sighting vane or azimuth indicator thing right here. That looks pretty cool. I don't have any real other complaints. I've talked about in a video previously, like, there's a bit of a gap if you see where the two turret halves go together right there. That could be me sucking. But if you're going to do the interior, because you see all the bracing for the interior parts, I got a gap there. But again, that could just have been my mistake. So that's turret stuff. Let me slide this thing back in here. So, okay. Oop, my P's coming up a little bit there. The glacis and front plate stuff, I'm okay with it. There was some discussion about the rather large weld seam. I don't know if I can get close enough to it for you to see it, but it's right where the two plates meet, between these two plates here. That is correct. It's it's left over from the Vorpanzer stuff project, which was on the first, I don't remember how many, first few Tiger hulls, not all of them, but like, you know, the first 40 or so, 50 maybe. The same ones, I believe, that have these notches out of the front extensions and the one plugged hole for the tow hooks and then the secondary one bored in would all have that larger weld, because it was all left over from when the Vorpanzer project was still thought to be a thing that they were going to install, which, if you don't know, is, let's use this Tiger hull side as an example. It was an extra piece of armor that was shaped much like this front plate that would then come down on brackets to protect the front of the tracks and hull in combat. So the first initial Tigers all have leftover stuff from that. Let's see, the light bulb, or the headlights. So it's part PE, part plastic. I just did these. These are one of the things I put off for a long time. Those styrene conduits are incredibly fiddly, but they work. One of mine was broken in the packaging or whatever. So it's broken right behind the front plate, so it's actually in a pretty good place. Also, the let's see if I got a pointy thing here. Oddly, I have nothing to point with. I will point with this sanding stick. The PE, right here, it when you bend it, one side was longer than the other. That could again be my mistake, but it happened exactly the same on both sides. So that's a little weird. So I had to sand it to make it fit right, and I think that was about it. Those look okay. Better than the Tamiya option, which is, excuse me. So that's the Tamiya version where there's just no conduit, right? It's a little less refined. I really like Rye Field's version of that. Let's see. The fenders, the source of much debate, and I was incorrect. I had done some commenting on YouTube, thinking I had figured some stuff out, and I was wrong. Don't argue with Burden. He knows what he's talking about. So, let's see if we got a normal Tiger here I can show you as well. So this is a currently being built, my mid with Zim. I've put it on the shelf for a while, just because I'm weird. So you've got 4 fender segments. They are all the same length, and they all have equidistant bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that's what we're all used to, because everything from, like, pretty early in 43 had these fenders. The DAKs did not. So they had it where the bolts on the hull went straight line for the first 2, and then bent on an angle at this one. Now I'll show the image that Burden has on his site, because until I saw that, tiger1.info by the way, I didn't understand. So essentially, these 2 should be the same length, and then these 2 should be the same length as each other. Not as all of them. It's not 4 equal parts. It should be 2 that are longer, I believe, and 2 that are shorter up here on the DAKs. So what Rye Field did that was super, we call it Bush League where I come from. If you look, I don't know if that'll pick up on this camera, but so like these bolts all line up okay, and then when you get to here, these bolts don't line up with their little indents, which they would have to on a real tank, and they just, essentially, the way it was explained to me is, and it seems like what they did was they were getting to the point of shipping and realized it was wrong, and then kind of freaked out and sort of just scaled it without fixing anything else. So without altering where the bolts were on the hull, they just went like, oh crap, we had these the same size, but this one was only going to go until the front plate, so it's like a couple millimeters too short, let's stretch it out. It is a major fault of this kit. It's super bad, because I just installed them as they were, because I don't feel like fixing it. I would have to do a lot of like aftermarket or something to fix it. So I just left it. And kind of to show other people what it looks like installed. It's not end of the world bad, but it's not correct. Let's see. Rear plate. I could not fit the right side 5-0 filter with the jack, but I haven't heard anyone else complain about it, so I must be an idiot. So what I did was I had to, in the end, I ripped off the jack, filled the holes where it originally went, fitted everything else, including test fitting these shrouds to make sure that the little clamp will still fit. Actually, I'm having an issue with it right now. There. And then I just kind of glued it roughly where it should be, but it's not where the holes originally were. So also make sure that if you are building this, you don't put the tops on the exhaust. These initials didn't have that, and the kit tells you to do it. That's wrong. It also tells you to put this toolbox in slightly the wrong place, and I did not adjust mine. It should be farther in and at an angle down. The DAKs had very specific toolboxes on the rear. Fivals look okay. The PE tops don't sit perfectly smooth, but it does create no seam there, which looks good, and we'll see what it looks like when it's painted. The etch looks okay. I love the tow cables. There is one tool that I'm not terribly fond of. I'll see if I can show it to you. I don't have it glued in yet because I think I'll replace it with some kind of dragon thing. I'm not big on PE clamps for tools and stuff yet because I'm not very good at it. So this guy here, who's not glued in, they give you a PE piece to put on top, but look how smooth that shovel and supposedly cover is. It looks like an old muddy Academy part or something. So I'll figure out a dragon piece to use, but I was trying to build it as close to how they wanted you to build it as possible. So for this video, I just left it on there, but it's a little bit crap. So the tracks. I built them. It took me a couple of Sundays to do one run in Google Hangouts that me and the other YouTube guys do. And then it took me a 1 5-hour Sunday session to do the other run, so I think I was just picking up speed. Yes, they are fiddly, but they sag perfectly, and they articulate wonderfully. And when I do glue everything together, it will move. I don't know why I would want it to, other than I can pick it up and it will sort of just readjust. So if you look at AFV clubs, these are their workables. You see how they're kind of kinky? For lack of a better word, oop, that one broke. So I can just show you. I'll repair it later. So they don't, like, look at when I hold it straight. Do you see how it kind of just goes bleh? Now that's okay because it's a static model, so when it does act up, you can kind of just bend it into place and get the right sag, but these actually are just, they perfectly do that. Like, it's just butter. Beautiful. So, you know, I love the tracks. They are my preference for plastic tracks. I know they take forever, and I think I actually prefer them to freewheel because now I've built a set of those, and these are just, yeah, they're tedious as all hell, but they look really cool when they're done, and they're plastic, and I like that. So, yeah. So that's kind of it, really. I mean, the completely workable wheels and tracks and suspension, like, it's gimmicky, but I'm going to build this one that way. I don't know that I always will, but I build models because I love the vehicle, and I'm trying to recreate that vehicle as close as I can in my house, and, you know, since 1-to-1 seems unreasonable, as realistic as they function and are, to me that matters. A lot of guys talk about how it's about art and they're trying to tell a story. Well, I'm obsessing over hardware, and the closer that hardware is to what it really is, the cooler it is to me. So I do have problems, though. Just quickly I'll mention, yeah, the one part of the 5-volt hoses is a solid cap. It should be drilled out, and I think there's a mesh screen that should go over there. And man, there's not much I didn't like about this thing. Yeah, there was also a tiny gap where the two plates meet. But that's kind of the only problems I had. Fitting the jack, I seemed to mess up. And then there were there's lots of mold seams on it, which I thought was kind of odd. Like, compared to Dragon, everything had a mold seam. Like, even little parts would have mold seams. But I will be honest, I think that these guys are underrated right now, because if you bought a set of model cast-in workable early tracks, currently on eBay it'll be like $40, and that, you know, plus shipping. This kit right now is selling for like, you know, $33 to $40 on eBay, and you get a really accurate DAK Tiger with a set of essentially model cast-in tracks. So, if for no other reason, that's awesome. And it's pretty freaking accurate. Like, we'll see what happens when the Dragon one comes out, and I'll build that up too. But apart from these fenders, yes, are bonk. That's super wrong and super crap. And their smoke launchers need to be replaced. And their barrel is 3 millimeters too long. This is not cut to size. So here's a Dragon Tiger barrel. You can kind of tell that it's shorter, like if I put them next to each other. Well, you can't, but from my angle I can. They are slightly, that hatch is really preventing it, but, so, yeah. So the barrel's a little too long, but I had not learned that until it was far too late. So, yeah, a little bit of issues, but compared to the problems with its competitor up until now, which had only been this Tamiya, which again I'm replacing their smoke launchers, and I had to put Dragon stuff and Aftermarket grills on here, but the two are not even comparable. Like, yes, Dragon's putting theirs back out, and this one isn't finished, so it's a little bit like some kind of marketing strategy where I show an unbuilt tank versus a built tank. But if we're looking at purely just detail on the front hull, this comes with rubber band tracks. There is so much better about this, and these run nearly the same price. Like this Rye Field model thing it's better than I think people say it is. And it builds like a new Tacom kit. The plastic is very, very, it's crisp and nice and refined. It's just they've got a few other things to work out yet. Also, there's a few other things I just realized I didn't put on. There's a few fly nuts or whatever, the little butterfly looking things that go on here that I haven't put on yet. There's either PE or styrene for it, and I'm afraid to knock them off while I'm painting, so I haven't done that yet. Yeah, that's about all I got. So if I'm rating it, and I was talking about creating a new rating system, you know, I'd give it definitely, 4 out of 5. If not 4.5 out of 5. Like, for the money, yeah, we'll give her 4.5, which would be, like a 9. Because it's super cheap and you get tons of great Tiger parts. And whereas when Dragon pre-orders come out, you're paying 80 to a reasonable price would be 60. This thing was only 30 something. So, that being said, their new kit is 80, but it's a 503 early with full interior, which looks like it'll be worth it. And then they're going to sell these tracks separately. So hopefully I'll be getting samples of that stuff and I can show you. I don't know. But when that'll be, I don't know. But I'm not an evangelist for their company for sure, but there's also some amount of supporting these other companies that we need to do as they come out. If we want competition, we want Dragon to stop doing things like DS tracks and charging $80 for Tiger tank kits and stuff. So, yeah, I'm pretty freaking impressed with this thing.